Welcome to the Park and Recreation Commission regular meeting of June 20th, 2024. The time is 6:03 p.m. Becky, can you call the roll?
Yeah, Chair Cabrales, she is absent today. Commissioner Gutierrez?
Here.
Commissioner Pasternak?
Here.
Commissioner Sandoval?
Here.
And Commissioner Emerson is not here either at the moment. All right, thank you.
And with that, I'd like to call agenda item number 1, approval of the regular meeting minutes. I invite any questions and answers from committee members to staff at this time. I move to approve.
Second.
Oh, did I need to?
Oh.
Yeah. In a second.
A motion to approve. Real quick, spot, any public comment on those or is that? That's,
No.
yeah, okay.
Sorry, Becky, we did get a motion and a second.
Yeah, I heard the motion and then the second. Thank you. Commissioner Gutierrez,
Yes.
Commissioner Pasternak,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, motion approved. Thank you.
And the public is welcome to address the commission at this time on matters not listed on the agenda that are within its jurisdiction. Comments may be no longer than 3 minutes and should be respectful to the community. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to share public comments? Yes.
About 2 minutes of comments. The word pickleball is actually not in any of the comments, but I could add it if that would help. Here we go. Good evening. My name is Larry Andel. I live at 443 Riviera Drive, San Rafael. I'm here tonight to represent the Peacock Gap Home Association. We're 427 homeowners in the Peacock Gap area of San Rafael. Basically, we border the Peacock Gap golf course. I'm actually here tonight to thank both the commission and the staff for involving the PGHOA in the planning process to upgrade the neighborhood park, Peacock Gap Park. Specifically, we came before this commission earlier this year, asking to be involved in the planning process for improvements to Peacock Gap Park. You heard us. And we have been working with staff to involve our local community in the planning process. That partnership will culminate this Saturday in an event at the park between 1 and 3. We have promoted this event as a joint outreach and PGHOA ice cream social. We have publicized it through our newsletter, our website, and sandwich boards that we have placed throughout the neighborhood. We invite all of you to attend. And as a special incentive, when you sign in, let us know you're on the commission or part of the staff, and we will award you with a ticket-free scoop of gelato ice cream from Fiorello's ice cream truck. In particular, Robert, we hope you're there.
I will be there.
Thank you very much.
All right, so next we have special presentations. Item number 2, Pickleweed Park Enhancement Project.
Right, I'm gonna just pull up a quick PowerPoint presentation on the screen here, but it's good to see you all. Let's give it a second. And at the end of the meeting, I got some comments when I talk a little more, give my updates about all the outreach that we're working on right now, including Peacock Gap Park. So I'm excited to share more about that. Let's see, slideshow. And Becky, can you see the screen okay?
Yes, I can.
All right, so we felt like this was a really good time to just give a brief update about the status of this project. I know we've been talking about this over the last couple of years, but we do have some updates for you and wanted to make sure that you were up to speed on where we're currently at. So we'll do just a quick background overview, and then we'll launch into the current status of where we're at here. So Pickleweed Park, this is our enhancement project. This has been a long-standing community priority, but we're really gonna focus on where we're at with the current project in current iteration. We should go backwards. We have been working on this as a city for more than 10 years. I would say probably closer to 20 years. We've heard from the community that they would like to see us make improvements to the field and to the park. We have over the last few years made some improvements to the play area in particular, but the rest of the park it's overdue for some freshening up, particularly the fields. So we've been working on getting funding for this, and I think back in 2010, there was a big push to get some grants. Unfortunately, most of those grant applications we've submitted weren't successful until recently, but we obtained the National Park Service Land and Water Conservation Fund grant in 2022, and that really kind of lit a fire under this project. In 2020, we did quite a bit of community outreach to get information about what are the current community needs there. Multiple community surveys were put out, virtual surveys, we did pop-up and outreach events. And then we continued that through 2023 as we gained more funding for the project. We really just dial in what do we want to focus this project on. The top community priority, which we for the last decade has been the field. Converting that multi-use sports field to all-weather turf. Which the current field requires so much maintenance. I think you've heard this message from us over and over again, that field is typically closed for up to 6 months a year due to the maintenance. So I know that's not news for anyone in this room. And that's the primary problem that I think we're solving for here. The other project components that we're working on are pathway improvements through signage, new benches, new seating. Accessibility at the park is something that we really want to focus on. We want to make sure that the park is accessible and inclusive to all. New restroom facilities. We know that the current restrooms are undersized and are heavily utilized, so we're hoping to make improvements there. Parking is a continual issue down there at the community center. This project proposes 19 new parking stalls, as well as a new outdoor basketball court, a new gazebo for some community gathering, a toddler play area, as well as adult exercise equipment, and some landscaping and biological retention improvements. So this is a kind of aerial overhead view of the project. The last time we came to PRC, I think you saw the exact same map. That has not changed. The scope of work that we're continuing to refine here is the same as it was the last time we presented to Park and Recreation Commission. And it's probably a little hard to see. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and kind of walk through each of these. Number one here, this is the field. And this new design will include two soccer pitches, as well as striping for Little League Baseball. 2 Little League Baseball diamonds. Not shown on here, there will be striping for some different regulation size soccer pitches, so youth soccer as well. And I didn't have a graphic that showed those, but overlaid on each of these fields, there will be some striping for youth soccer as well. Over here, number 2, this is the top play area. Talk a little more about that later. We are not proposing any changes to the existing play equipment. Number 3 here, this is where we're proposing to install some adult exercise equipment. I believe that there are 5 or 6 different exercise stations that will be sited here. Number 4 is actually this whole area. When we take on projects of this scope, we're typically required to install some bioretention zones, and that's what this is indicating here. It's also a great opportunity to kind of spruce up this area of the park. If you've ever entered the park here, you enter in, and then in between the play area and the field, it's kind of a gully. It winds up getting lots of water in the wet season, and it kind of is just a dead zone in the dry season. So we think this is really going to help out. Number 5 are the new restrooms. They're going to be located in the same location that they're currently sited. But hopefully that will be a big improvement for the community. It will add additional restroom stalls. Number 6 on this graphic, it has not been updated. This is actually going to be located in a slightly different location. This would be the one change on this map. The gazebo will be installed, but it's actually sited closer to the field. We have a lot of conversations about the best placement for that gazebo, and there's also quite a few site limitations and constraints that we're working with. There's actually a very large pipe that runs underneath here. And so we had some limitations we ran into with this location. So we decided to relocate it just behind this pathway that will enter the new field. And we think that's going to be a really, actually an improvement in the plans. We think it'll be a great location for gathering. It'll tie together the adult exercise equipment, the play area, and the field in a new way. So we're excited about that change. Number 7 here, we're going to have some new signage at the front of the park to help create a little more sense of a place when people enter the park. And we have the digital sign for the community center, but we don't have any signage at the front of the park to really help people understand that you're entering Pickleweed Park. So we're planning to place some new signage here. And then if we move over to the other side of community center, number 8 here, there's going to be a new seating plaza here. We think this will be a really great entryway either to the Stark Weather Path or to the park itself. We know this is a main thoroughfare for a lot of people that are walking the pathway and entering and exiting the park. So we're going to create a little more sense of place here with some bench seating to welcome people, as well as a drinking fountain. Number 9, this is going to be the new outdoor basketball court. And just in front of that, this is where the new parking will be going. So 19 additional parking spots here. So this is an overview. I think, like I said, there have been a couple of refinements and changes to this graphic as we finished up the design. But generally speaking, this project is just as it's been designed for the past year. So where we are today, we have completed the project drawings, the specifications, the construction documents. We're at 100%. So that's a big milestone for this project. And since those have been completed, we've published those in what we call an invitation for bid. So right now, contractors have the opportunity to review that packet and plan to submit bids to us. The deadline is next week. So I know we received quite a few questions during the question period. So we're responding to those questions right now to clarify anything. And we're expecting hopefully several bids on this project. We are planning for a multi-phase construction project. There's a few things we're working around. Seasonal construction due to the nesting bird season down there on the shoreline. We have bridgeway rails down there, and so we've gotten some guidance on when we can and can't be in construction season. There's some things we can do to mitigate that if we needed to, but we're working around that as a limiting factor. And we're also coordinating with Marine Audubon Society. They have the Discordia Marsh Restoration Project that they're scheduled to start soon. So we're working with that and have developed a phased approach to line all of this up and make sure it's coordinated. We're also kind of working through right now the final stages of the BCDC permit that will be required to start construction. We just received a response letter from them today, and we're just kind of going back and forth answering final questions there until we receive that final permit from them. But we're at a point where we're really getting close to construction for the project here. Assuming that we get bids back, assuming we get that BCDC permit, we will be moving pretty quickly to then identify a construction manager. We're also going out to bids to bring on a consultant that can assist us with this project. It's a relatively complex project. It's going to take some time. We want to make sure that we bring in a manager that has the expertise to really guide us in this and help manage the project effectively. That's very helpful in reducing things like change orders or construction engineering expenses down the line, making sure that we're in coordination with our permitting agencies and making sure that we're staying on time with our construction. So we're moving quickly to do that, as well as hopefully finalizing an agreement and then taking that to City Council later this summer for construction. Assuming that all goes well, we're hoping to begin construction in September of this year for this project. I think it's a little too soon to know exactly when we'll be completed with work, but we are still hoping that we can move quickly. I think part of that's going to depend on the contractor's means and methods and how they choose to mobilize on the project. Part of it will also hinge on some of those coordination pieces I mentioned earlier. But a big part of our goal is going to be to make sure that the park is as open and accessible to the community as possible throughout construction. So we're going to try to phase things and work with the contractor in a way that will, not shut down the entirety of the park at one point in time. That being said, if they can get in, get it all done, get it done really quickly, and have a limited impact for a shorter period of time, and that suits their needs better, I think we'd still be open to that. So likely in September, we'll be coming back to the commission and sharing an update on that construction timeline and more specifics on what that should look like. Our Land and Water Conservation Fund grant that we've received, we do have a grant deadline of 2026 to spend those dollars. So we do need to spend that money by then. We do need to finish construction by then as well. So to give you an overview of the phased approach for construction, what we're hoping for and thinking right now makes the most sense. We put in the bid packet that phase one would be the field. We expect that the contractor will want to get towards the back of the park first, do most of the construction there. So phase 1A would likely be the field. We expect that the second component will be the adult exercise equipment, the gazebo, the bio retention zones, the restroom. And then the third phase will likely be the basketball court and the parking area. It's kind of like the first construction season, even though it's phase 1A, B, C. We're calling that phase one, first construction window that they have. We're expecting staging will take place over here, kind of at the basketball court and the parking lot area. So I expect heavy construction equipment and things there, which we know will be a community impact, but we'll do the best we can to mitigate those with the contractor. And then one note I wanted to make here is that we're adding in the bid packet as a bid alternate, the top play area. We want to see what the cost comes back as for that. I think we're trying to balance buckets of funding right now. And so we listed that as a bid alternate just to see what's the specific cost for that, to explore potential alternate funding methods for that. Still part of the package, still part of what we want to do. It is part of the grant scope work as well. But I'm not going to bore you with all of the internal conversations of why we did it that way, but that's the way it's listed in case there were any questions. And then phase two, a little harder to discern on the map here because some of it is grayed out, but we're expecting that the phase two work, which is this kind of boulder line that wraps all the way around the field and all the way around the basketball court. This will be work that's going to be occurring after the Tuscaronian Marsh levee wall has been constructed. And if you look at the lighter gray area, you can kind of see in the topo lines that there's a real strong gradient up to this pathway. This is the levee wall that is planned to be constructed. The reason that this is listed as phase two is because we simply can't construct this and tie into that project until the levee wall has been completed. Once that work is done, then phase two can be completed. So that's the part that's the coordinated piece. We're going to need to really work with the Audubon Society to understand that timing and make that work. Yes. So I mentioned it, but just an overview of project funding. A $4.2 million grant from the National Park Service. The city is committed to matching that. We have just received our approved budget for FY25. That was on Monday. City Council approved a $9.3 million budget for this project. About $814,000 of planning and design associated with this. Yet to be determined, but around $750,000 of construction management is what we're expecting. And the engineer's estimate for construction as of right now is about $7.7 million. So potential challenges, I think we're very I feel really good about where we're at, but with a project of this scope, there's always, potential challenges, and we're aware of them, working to mitigate them. I think one is just the uncertainty of how updates will come in. We'll know that next week, which is exciting because, we can take a look at that and, come up with solutions to that if we do see a challenge. I think we have a really good cost estimate here. But you just never know, with projects of this nature, you never know what those bids are gonna come in at, and we have seen in recent months. Some construction projects have come in and the bids have been significantly higher than expected, and so. I think it would be unwise not to list that as a potential challenge looking ahead, so that construction bid uncertainty. Is one thing we're watching. We're all gonna keep our fingers crossed, though, that we get bids that are in line with our budget. We can mitigate that with construction management as well. I think, bringing a strong construction management firm on board is gonna help us really manage and limit change orders and some of the engineering costs down the line. And then project coordination, I think there's still some uncertainty about how all of this will come together. So, there's ongoing conversations we need to have with the Audubon Society to make sure that we line up those details and that we can line up both phases of our project effectively with the work that they're doing. On track for that, but I think, again, just a little bit of uncertainty there, so I wanted to flag that as a potential challenge coming up. And then I think, we've talked a little bit here as well, knowing that this is going to be an impactful project to the community in regards to field use and park use. We're continuing to look at ways we can mitigate that. We want to make sure that the park is open and accessible as much as possible. And a big part of my goal is going to be to get that field open quickly. We'd love to see that field constructed first, and find pathways for individuals to get out there and be able to use that amenity as quick as we realistically can. And so we'll be working with the construction crew to try to find that. And with that, I think that is the update. I feel really great to be here today and be able to share this. I'm excited to get to the next step. I think this is kind of the I don't know, I like to call it the midway point of the project. Now we need to go build. So we're really hopeful that we're close to that phase. Yeah, I'll turn it over if there's any questions on your end or any other discussion here.
I have some questions too. Maybe you said this, how many bidders are we expecting?
Hard to say.
Okay, that's.
Based on the number of questions that we received, the way that this is set up in our system, we have it's online, it's called Bid Express. We publish it, we send it out to any construction firm, and then they have an opportunity to ask questions. We received, I think, 85 questions, which is a lot more than we typically receive, and from a variety of construction firms. So I know that there are quite a few firms that are interested in this. That doesn't always lead to bids, but I'm hopeful that we do get some really competitive bids on the project. I think it's a good project for, I think several of the different firms in the region. I think it really just depends on how that ties in with their current scope of work and we'll take that. So we'll know next week.
Thank you. And then I was wondering on the plans around the fire retention area and kind of behind the signage, are the landscaping considerations in place to help sort of at the signage area, keep the barbecue area, people and kids from going to the parking lot? Because that always seems sort of to me like a safety question, how there's so many people using that barbecue area and it's right up against the parking lot. But then similarly, and not safety related necessarily, is there landscaping in that number 4 section that keeps people from running through the fire retention area and making it just another kind of junky, wet, muddy? I know what they typically look like, but just curious.
Yeah,
I think people like to run through things.
it's a great question.
Not around it.
It is, and I think when you look around at parks, you tend to see the zones where, you come up with a great plan for where the pathways should go, and then you see right next to the sidewalk, you see this kind of brown path through the grass where everyone naturally goes. One of the things that we were trying to take into consideration here, where the natural paths of travel, but also where are the areas we want to, we do want to prevent and limit where foot traffic goes. This fire retention zone will be one of those areas. We'll be trying to limit traffic, and I think the native plant species that they're planning to put place there will help with that naturally. We are not planning to put any fencing or anything there. I think it will be visual. I think we're gonna have to kind of see when those plants take, how the community then approaches that. I think if we do run into issues where that continues to be an area where people are trampling it down, then, you know, maybe we need to do a little more education or signage or potentially take other measures. But our goal is to kind of visually limit how people choose to go back and forth here. We actually had quite a few conversations about whether we need to put a pathway in from the top area that cuts across. Frankly, it became cost prohibitive for us to do that and add that to the scope of the work. And it would have been really challenging for us to do that with all of these other kind of site limiting factors, the bioretention area needs, the pipeway that goes underneath here. So we did decide we're really gonna be kind of focusing, this is gonna be kind of a pathway hub down here by the restroom, where we think most people will naturally want to follow that pathway hub. In regard to the barbecue area and the vegetation kind of up at the front of the park. Yeah, I think part of our goal here with this placemaking is to really direct people into this main thoroughfare, which will lead people into the park. We chose intentionally not to include this grayed out zone, the barbecue area and the kind of picnic site as part of the project, because we know there's opportunity here for potential future development of the library. And part of what the requirements are for this grant funding would be a deed restriction that then places this as recreation park land. So we were very specific in which area of the park we designated as recreation, knowing that maybe future funding would come available to expand the footprint of the library. If we were going to do that, you know, obviously this would be the first area we'd be looking at because it butts up against the library. And so we're not planning any immediate work here, but I think that naturally, one of the things we're going to want to be looking at is if we put all of this great work into the rest of the park, what we do to help, you know, make sure that this portion of the park ties in effectively with that and really works. And so we've had some conversations about things that we can do to make that happen. Concurrent to this project, we're actually working on a library renovation project that can lead as well. So we've been having a lot of conversations about what that scope of work will entail. Part of the objective of that grant is to help with indoor, outdoor kind of access and you know how people enter and exit the library. So we've been exploring ways to really tackle that. What about some new entrances in the back of the library that give people the opportunity to use the space back a little more? What about the side? You know, where is the police substation located? How does this all tie together within this existing footprint? That would not expand the library, but I think, you know, with the new gazebo here, with potential library improvements here, we expect that this is going to become kind of a new thoroughfare through here as well. And I think that's going to lead us to take a look at this zone and really make sense. So I think that's a great question, and it's definitely something we're thinking about. Don't have any immediate, you know, solutions for it, but it's.
Thank you. Sorry, one more quick question, or maybe it's not quick, I don't know. You had on later slides, we can see those the extra field lines on the one, phase one, I think. And I was curious, I've been to, a lot of places where they have, you know, all these lines, and, sometimes you go to those places and you're like, gosh, I'm glad they did all of it, because now we can do all these things, and sometimes you're like, I can't see anything.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious if you've been to a site or spoken with rec professionals who have managed sites like this and it feels good and it's working. And yeah, I assume if they said yes, then that's the answer, but I'm just curious if how that has gone.
I mean, I'm with you. So prior to working here, I worked in the city of Berkeley, and we had a large construction project where we had one multi-purpose park. It was at a summer camp. How do you pack 9 sports in one multi-purpose court? And we wound up with so many different variations of different colored lines and striping and patterns of placement that I kind of made my head spin. And we wound up really carrying it back because it just got too confusing. You couldn't tell which lines represented which sports. We had a couple conversations with the field designers, the manufacturers themselves. We also talked with a couple other agencies about their experiences with this. And then we reached out to a lot of the field user groups to ask them, what lines do we really need here? How can we do this in a way that's not gonna get too messy and confusing? Which side of the field we're going to focus some of the youth sports on, and how do we make sure that this is going to work? What you're going to see, I think you're going to see about 3 different color striping plans out there on the field. You're going to see the large soccer pitch in one color. You're going to see the 2 kind of smaller in another color, and then the baseball is going to be a third. So I think the
Yeah.
color is going to be one indicator to kind of keep things clear. I also think generally, like if we're playing youth soccer, we're switching direction here on this side. I think that's going to be fairly clear to follow the lines. And then I think on this field, it's really probably going to be cone delineation, to kind of shorten the boundaries of the playing field in soccer. So I feel good about it. I think there is always that risk. I think when we get down there and actually get to designing it, if we, identify, hey, this is just going to be too much. I think it's something we could make a change to. The other kind of cool thing is that you can always go back and change it. These are fields that even though they're they're a different material, it's not grass, like you're not painting it, but you can actually pull it up and you can change where the line locations are after the fact and reconfigure the fields if you need to. So
And do you know what size the baseball fields are?
I don't remember off the top of my head what size they are. I think they're similar to what we would have out there right now. We don't have striping out there for the baseball. But we do have the backstops at both corners. So I think they'd be similar and be really kind of little league sized. But I don't remember the specific size. I know like where the bases would be. And that's a good catch. I didn't even realize that was actually shown in the show here.
I had a question about the construction management and how that process goes, like how we do we, is there a bid process for that as well, or?
Yeah, so what the city will do, we'll be releasing a request for proposals, so construction management firms will identify the project, give an overview of what we're gonna be asking for in our scope of service for the management firm, and then we'll get bids back from them and choose a qualified firm that meets our needs. And there's quite a few firms in the region that do work really specifically. They work with contractors, they work with the client, us as the city, to make sure that our interests are going to be met. And that's really important when you got, we have a design team with multiple sub-consultants. The construction firm and the design team, there could be questions that arise. Hey, here's what you put in the plans. How do we build that in the way that you intended? And wait a minute, like this doesn't line up. Construction manager will come in and help us navigate all that questions. It's gonna be a time-consuming job.
Right.
And frankly, I don't have time to do that. I think our public works department, they've got capacity limitations, so bringing in a consultant is really practical.
I just have a couple questions. So do you anticipate that there's gonna be a need for more staffing at the Pickle Center to coordinate the use of the fields? Because it's gonna increase, over time, once it's done, because it'll be year round.
That's a great question.
And also like the basketball courts, be open at night, they're gonna be lighting and security.
Good questions. I think there are a couple questions there. I'll go backwards. The last questions are probably the easier, quicker ones.
Yeah.
In regard to lighting, we made some intentional decisions not to include sports court or field lighting as part of the project. And introducing lighting kind of changes when people are going to be using those amenities. And our current municipal code, the parks are closed at sunset, right? So that changes seasonally. We know that closure in the winter is going to be earlier than closure in the summertime, but there's a lot of other environmental factors, permitting regulations, impacts to the community when you install lights on those types of amenities. So we decided not to include lights on the basketball court or the field. There will be parking lot lighting. So down in this corner, there will be some overhead additional lighting that's installed in the parking lot, but not so. The basketball court, it's going to be open and free to the public to use whenever they choose to. We may choose to run some programs there, but since we also have the indoor basketball court in the community center, I think the bulk of our programming will likely take place inside. Whereas part of the benefit of having this outdoor court is it really is open and accessible. So we hope that that's a big positive program element. We do know that down at the park, we get some uses that don't really align with the positive uses that we want, right? I think that that's something that we have experienced down there at the park, and we think that this might be a really positive improvement and give people a different option rather than maybe some of the unwanted behaviors down there. I think in regards to your question about security, it's, I don't think that any of the plans here necessarily change what we expect our security needs will be on an ongoing basis. I think if we have more use down there of rental groups, particularly with like sports leagues. We do have in our rental policies and requirements that groups would also hire security. We have a contract with Barbie Security. We have to just re-up to them for a new 5-year term on Monday. The council that was approved.
I know. Really nice.
So we would require certain types of programs to have security on site.
Yeah.
Depending on the nature of their programming. And then in regards to more staffing, I mean, I would love to be in a situation where that is so heavily used and we have to go out and find more staff. I think that would be a really great problem to have. I had great conversations with Steve Mason, the facilities supervisor down there, and we started to really put some thought into how will this field be used? What will the programmed and rental time be versus free open play for the
Right.
community? What does the fee structure need to be for the field down there right now? Do we need to make any changes to that once this new field has been constructed? How do we think about a long-term field maintenance and replacement plan? This new all-weather turf will have a lifespan, right? And so with heavy use, we know that in a period of about 8 to 10 years, we're going to need to replace that and refurbish it. So how do we try to make sure that that is built into our long-term maintenance plan? So there's a lot of things that we're looking at right now, including, the staff model to manage it. Typically, for our sports rentals, if it's during our regular business hours and the rental program or group out there, it doesn't require significant staffing to run that program. On the weekends, we hire facility attendants to help support that. So I think we're gonna have to see, that field is already heavily used in its current state. But I think if we are expecting it to be open year round, we probably will have increased staffing. I think that'll just be covered by the additional revenue that we're bringing.
And so would the Pickle Weed Advisory Board be weighing in on this decision?
Yeah, I think both the advisory committee as well as the Park and Recreation Commission will be weighing.
So my second question is, this is great. What about the what's the name of the path?
Starkweather.
The Starkweather path and the little park there, and like, is there a vision of extending the modernization and beautification and to be space down there?
So I'm gonna zoom back in on this one.
There's that little kid park with the, stainless steel kind of, or whatever, a slide. I think it's a slide.
So the Tiscornia Marsh project, you're gonna see the levee wall extend all the way around. And then kind of continue down and gradually slope down off of this graphic. They'll slope back down to become flat. Beyond that, if you keep going, there's a new park that's called Showing.
Yeah,
Park.
that's the park. It's like
About a
between there
year
and the path,
ago,
yeah.
I'm not sure the last time you were down there, but about a year ago, the city did a project where we added additional horizontal parking on the roadway here.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Leading up
Yeah.
to the park.
Yeah,
And we also did some work down at Showing Park where there's 2 new concrete pads and picnic tables and some
Okay.
seating down there. That's kind of another main entrance for a lot of community members to access the trail. I think during the Audubon Society's construction period, they may be using that as staging for some of their heavy equipment. They also have a phased project. Phase 1 will be the levee wall itself. Phase 2 is going to be the marsh restoration and it's beyond the levee wall and out in the bay itself. So There's a high likelihood that that area, or maybe some other areas near there, still kind of working it out, are gonna have some equipment that's staged there for potentially multiple years as they're working on that restoration project. Once that work is done, part of our expectations that that site's gonna be, fully returned to saying and back to its nature. So, beyond that, this project doesn't really, tie into Stark Weather Path and
Yeah.
improvements there.
Yeah.
I did just have a walk this morning with someone who wants to donate for a new commemorative bench, right?
There
And
you
it's
go.
just down the pathway, and I've had a lot of interest in that program recently, so we are making small improvements throughout the parks with programs like that.
So it sounds like it's gonna be, the parking area and the little park is gonna be fenced up and out of commission once. But that's okay.
Potentially, I think it's too soon to know exactly what areas would be,
Yeah.
staging versus accessible. I think a big goal for us is to make sure that all of them be as accessible as possible.
Right.
I know we will have a path of travel to get to the pathway, start with our path there. I'm just not sure exactly where it's.
And then I guess we will now call the next agenda item. We're on item number 3, tennis court access pilot program update.
Well, I believe you've all met Darcy Chiu. I'll do my quick introduction for you, and so, no PowerPoint for this one, right?
Yeah, so just about a year ago, we decided to unlock the tennis courts here at Albert Park in Freitas. So we decided to just do a follow-up survey year after we did that to ask the community how it was going. We sent it out to the same individuals we sent the first survey out to, so those who purchased a tennis key roughly 2017 to 2023. Posted them at Albert Park, Freitas Park here, and then we also included Peacock Gap just to see if we had some other kind of questions or concerns going on at that court. So sent to about 400 community members, and we've received about 60 responses. So you can see the survey here, if you guys looked through it already, but we asked a few more questions this go around, just so we can get a better demographic of who's using the courts and what they're using it for. So 88% of the court users are over 40 years old. Most of the courts are used every day. Both by pickleball and tennis users, but we heard more from tennis users. One of the most interesting questions that we got back was what time of day do you use the courts, and it was pretty much even across the board, which is great. I'm glad that they're getting used throughout the day. And then 74% of people were in favor of keeping them unlocked. They like how the program is going and it's not impacting their use. About 25% wanted to bring back the key. And then we also had proposed at one point to potentially use a court reservation fee. We didn't get much interest in that, so we're kind of gonna put a pause on that for now, and maybe we'll ask in the future, but we're not recommending to make any changes for court fees at this time. We, as staff, we've seen a significant decrease in obviously having to maintain those doors and vandalism, especially to the entry gates, and then so we recommend that we keep it going how it is and permanently remove those locks. We left the locks in there just in case we needed to bring it back, but I think we're gonna pull those out completely now. There were a few concerns just about the encampments across the street and then repairs and maintenance to the courts, which is in our master plan to get done, I think in the near term. So, and then very interesting comments about adding pickleball lines and the same amount of comments to remove the pickleball lines. So we're at a standstill. Yeah, so any questions? Just about the survey or survey results, I guess.
I thought that was interesting too, the time of day one, I looked at that, I sent it out, like, oh, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's overwhelmingly in favor, the community is overwhelmingly in favor of leaving them unlocked and it. A benefit administratively from the department standpoint, it seems to me like it's the right move to keep it fee free.
Definitely good. It's just first come, first served.
Yep.
Sounds good to me.
How did you measure like vandalism? So just kind of like number of reports have just gone down significantly since.
Yeah, so our Speak Click Fix program, we get alerts whenever there's something going on here in our community and other than the encampments across the street, we haven't seen much about tennis, or complaints coming directly to me or walking in and talking with us. Yeah, it's mostly if the light is out right now, and other than that people are doing reports when they should be.
And you're looking for a motion to approve the recommendation to keep the program. Fee free unlocked gates or just receive the report?
Just received the report.
Okay.
Yeah.
I move to receive the report.
Okay.
All right. Commissioner Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez.
Yes.
Commissioner Pasternak
Yes.
and Vice Chair Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, motion approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have the staff liaison report.
And back to me, and so this is one of those seasons where I could probably talk a lot. I'm gonna try to keep it brief here. But it's the beginning of summer. You can imagine we have all kinds of programs and things happening throughout the city. So a big shout out to all of our staff team for all that they do to help get us to this point. There's an overview. We have a summer booklet that's out front here, and it hopefully was mailed out to community members. You should have received it in your mailboxes that has an overview, but we do still have availability on a lot of our summer programs. So if anyone's looking for something to do this summer, I encourage you to check it out. Our childcare programs, they wrapped up a really successful school year and they've shifted into their summer camp season as well. We have a couple changes I think I've talked about over the last 6 months to a year, particularly with our Santa Cruz City school sites. Kind of a sad update for us, but we did wrap up closing down the Pullman school site. It was, I think the staff that had, had some emotion around that, understandably. Some of them have been there for many years operating that facility. But we've fully moved out at this point and are wrapping up our time serving film school. So at Glenwood, we're moving out of our portable unit there into the multi-purpose room. So we've got some new digs for the upcoming fall season, and that transition has been going. Last night, Kelly's, last night, Kelly Albrecht, we had a retirement party for her. This is her last week working for the city of San Rafael, and we're trying to determine last night how many years have been done. I think 37, I think is what they said.
No.
No,
30 in minute, but
it was more than 30 years working for the city, and so a big shout out to her for her years of service for the community. It was actually kind of cool. We were at Big Rock last night, and a whole bunch of kind of, I don't know, 20 something kids were coming up, and they're like, they saw the child care directors, and they were all like celebrities there last night. Gabby Verdias has stepped into that role. I think I shared that with you at the last meeting, but she has been promoted into that position. She's been with Valley for 18 years and is now stepping into the supervisory role. Our aquatics programs are up and running in full swing. The pool is open. The Freitas Park water feature is also open. So I know that with some of the hotter weather that we've experienced, people are out enjoying the pools. Just a quick note, we've had some mischief at the pool recently. There have been some teenagers that have been and jumping the fence, breaking in, pulling the covers back, and so we're getting the word out to. We talk with the community and make sure people are aware that it's happening, because, you know, when we find broken glass in the pool deck or around the pool, that's. It has the risk of potentially shutting down our program operations, so. And it's just breaking in, we don't want the kids to be making poor decisions, there's definitely some risk management in my mind there, so I just want to make sure that you're aware, it hasn't been a huge concern, but wanted to mention it. We've got some great projects that are going on right now. We're doing some community outreach on. One is the Terra Linda Community Center enhancement plan, the park and community center enhancement plan. We had a community meeting on Tuesday evening at the community center and had, what do you think, about 20-ish people were talking.
Was it that many?
We'll go 18 to
Yeah.
20 in the room. And heard some really great feedback from the community about the future of the park and the community center. Had some really insightful comments that were shared from all ages. There were a couple of young girls there that had some really great ideas on the play area, and they were ready to rattle things off at the end of that meeting. We were taking notes. So a lot of ways that you can stay involved and the community can stay involved. We have a project website that is up for that. We have a couple upcoming community outreach events that are coming up this weekend. So on Saturday, we're going to be at Northgate Mall at Ounces Outdoors from 4 to 6 p.m. I have a pop-up event taking place there. And then on Sunday, we'll be back at Terra Linda Park for a pop-up in the park from 11 to 2 o'clock. Online virtual survey is open, and that's going to be available through July 7th. We also are going to have a community meeting in Zoom format next week on Wednesday, the 26th at 6:30. So all that information is on the website. A lot of ways to get feedback, and we're hoping we'll get some really great guidance on the future of that. Likewise, as Mr. Andow, the individual who was here earlier, you made public comment mentioned, we've got the Peacock Gap Park, the play area improvement project that we're in design on. We've been working with the design team. We have 4 alternative kind of options for the play area that we're trying to get feedback on. So everything from what kind of play equipment do people prefer? What's the color, the theme that they prefer? And then we have some particular questions that we're asking about trees and fencing. And so have like a virtual survey that's up for that project as well, project website on our main page, and we're going to be at Peacock Gap Park also on Saturday. We're going to be all over town. But Darcy and I will be at Peacock Gap on Saturday from 1 to 3 in conjunction with the Homeowners Association Ice Cream Socials. We'll have a booth there, probably over by the playground. Have a way for people to get us. On Monday, City Council approved our FY25 budget. Our Measure A projects were approved as part of that budget. So just as a reminder there, we'll be looking at our trails existing condition and feasibility study. We're going to be looking at some temporary play equipment for Boyd Park. I think when we took the park tour last month, we went to Boyd Park and talked a little bit about how we did remove the play structure there, the safety concerns. We're looking at installing some hot focus or smaller play equipment that has a durable lifespan, but would be placed temporarily. If you want to place something there in the meantime until we come up with a more comprehensive replacement. As well as the other project that's a big one is the Peacock Gap, the play area replacement itself, the construction. We're in design. We'll get into construction and something. So those are the projects that we can move forward. A big update for us as a department, our library new assistant director has been hired and will be starting in July. His name is Daniel Avalos. He's spent the last 20 years working for the Marin County Free Library, so has a lot of really strong connections in the county and locally, really understands our service area and their needs, and we're really excited that they'll be joining us. So that's I'm really excited about that too. I've been spending a little more time over the library in the last few months, which has been great. But I'm really excited that we'll have a full leadership team starting. What am I missing, Darcy?
You got it.
All right, I'll end there then. So,
Chris, thank you, Craig. I'd now like to invite questions from committee members.
A question about, I've heard through the grapevine that there's gonna be a consolidation of the encampments on the path, the same path. And do you guys know about that and like where exactly that's gonna be consolidated to? I do not know.
You know, I don't feel as well equipped to really speak on the specifics of the plan, and what I'd recommend is Christina Lovish, our city manager.
Yeah.
She actually spoke extensively about this at city council on Monday in some
Oh,
of her
sorry.
opening remarks.
Yeah, okay.
And I would encourage you to take a look at that. There's a
Okay.
recording on the YouTube site because what she
She's
said there
she's the one
really
that
kind of
said the no.
describes the
What's
current
the-
condition, and as kind of a summary of that though. We've been going through a lot of legal challenges to what the
Right.
city can and cannot enforce in regards to homelessness or other. Municipal ordinances that we have in the city. And so, it's a really challenging environment right now. I do know that there has been a lot of conversation about that, but I really defer to them in
Okay.
regards to actions to take place right now. Yeah, it's an important question. I think it's definitely something that we're tracking as a department because we do have impacts at our community centers and parks. There are definitely things that have been impactful to us. I think even today, we had quite a bit of activity here at the community center where had some calls for service to the safe team, to PD, because we had individuals who were unresponsive in the park. And so it's definitely something that is impactful to our programs and tracking.
With the Boyd Park project, do we have the timeline for that? I mean, since it's not quite the same as any of these other projects, it's like, it's just about finding a vendor.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's not super simple, but
I think the general time I'll give you is probably starting in July. We'd be able to encumber funding for that, since this is the funding that has been approved is for the next fiscal year. Probably start that design in July. I don't imagine that the design will take long, right? We do want to work with a design team that can help us identify the right equipment, and we've already identified one we think will work and meet our needs. So I would say a couple of weeks, maybe. We're not planning for an extensive community outreach push. We really have a good idea what we think we need to place there, and we get that done. Then I think it would just be at that point, matter of lining up. Whether or not we need to pair a construction crew or whether we can do some installation. Depending on the answer to that, I think we can move pretty quickly to. I would expect by winter of this year we'll have something in place. Maybe I'll hedge my bets and say by, early spring. 2020. I should mention one other project that I didn't. It's our Pickleweed preschool program. We started design. We have a kickoff meeting next week with a design team to do a facility assessment there. We lost a portable unit to winter weather. It had water intrusion. Had reached the end of its service life. So we're bringing on a consultant firm to help us come up with a plan for the future. That was identified as one of the highest priority projects in our capital improvement program for the upcoming fiscal year cycle. And so we did allocate $1.3 million to the budget to help solve that problem for us. So we think that that's going to help to hopefully look at that entire facility and make some improvements for the next 15 to 20 years. So what that design project will look like is going to come in, they're going to assess the other structures, try and determine whether or not there's useful life left, and then make recommendations on what we could place there to help solve that.
When you say 1.3, is that on design planning and like consultants, or is that?
That would
Building.
be construction, that would be a full project, so part of that will be, design, some recommendations and what options, and then the
Great.
rest. I hope it doesn't cost 1.3 for it. Yeah.
The next item on our agenda is commissioner reports, other brief reports on any meetings, conferences, and or seminars attended by the commission.
To the Pickleweed Advisory Committee, and as I mentioned before, we had heard from all of the after-school programs for next year, and that was a three-hour meeting, with all the presentations of amazing programs, but in the end, they approved all the funding for that, so. And then there was one other presentation, for another group that came in, that looks like the whole group was, I think, forfeit that one up until the next meeting.
I've attended no meetings, but I have attended a technology baseball games at Elmwood Park, and it's lovely. Thank you for the facility.
I guess I'll just plug the ice cream social that has been talked about multiple times today. I will be there with my family if you guys want ice cream.
I'll be at a Sydney all day. Try to swing by one of both those events.
Yeah, just, you know, the county puts on a nutrition focused fruit and vegetable fest on the campus that's coming up. So that's something that would be nice to cross it from our little outreach goes your way. I can send you guys the flyers. It's free events or wellness program. It's a lot of community into the campus, just the work right there. So just that and county fairs coming up. It's gonna be very recreational. There's the kids'
I
day,
know, it's
the Thursday, well, the first day is always the free day. So, and that's, yeah, that's the free kids' day, so. Good to go. It should be fun. We're excited, but the fruit and veggie fest is fun. That serves the.
Where did you say that is again?
It's on the, well, off of, the county owns the property of on the corner Health and Wellness campus, so it's right on the corner of Bell and McKerner. Those buildings down there, so there's a bunch of services there, including my office, Murray Community Clinics, behavioral health services, the WIC program, and so they do this event to try to get people into the campus. Positive experiences. We also run it concurrently with CalFresh, so we can do CalFresh at the same time. A food focused event. It is fun. Yeah. People dressed up in vegetable costumes.
Great, thank you. Thank you all for the reports. And last item is adjournment, so I will adjourn the meeting at the time of 7:06 PM. Thank you. Thank you, Becky.